Hello and welcome. My name is Tammy, and I am the good stepmother. And I'm here to share my positive yet authentic perspective on navigating this complicated life of being a stepmom. I'm not a coach, I'm not an expert, I'm not a perfect human being. I'm just here trying to figure out how to be the best mom I can be to my bonus child while preserving my sanity and also my marriage. And yeah, so let's get into it. I'm so excited because this is my first ever episode recording for the podcast and also for the YouTube channel. Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching and listening and tuning in. I'm excited. I have my non alcoholic beverage right here, and I will explain why it is non alcoholic. On today's episode, that's so awesome that I get to say on today's episode. Yay! Um, on today's episode, we are going to be talking about Mother's Day, to celebrate or not. Yes, Mother's Day is a complicated day for stepmoms. I didn't even realize how complicated it was until celebrating this year, actually 2 days ago at this point that I'm recording. It was my first official Mother's Day celebration as I have been married for 10 months now. I have celebrated kind of before. Last year, my stepson had made something at his daycare for myself, which I was surprised to find out about. That kid loves me. I don't understand. And I am so blessed that I have a stepchild that loved me from the get go. But yeah, so I didn't really pay much attention last year again because I wasn't married at the time. We were just engaged. I was planning a wedding, but that was it. But this year, whew, this year was a doozy. So let's just start off with what happened that day, and then I'll explain the two things that caused me to react the way I did. So, my husband and I had gone on vacation, and Sunday morning, woke up and he greets me with a happy Mother's Day, just giving me positive messages and encouragement of me being a mom to his child and how amazing I've been doing and how, I'm going to be a great mom someday. And I ignored it. I didn't say anything. I literally just rolled out of bed and kept on going. He followed me around, as we're getting ready to check out because we were leaving that day. And he continues to just shower me with Happy Mother's Day messages, even in the family WhatsApp groups, my family WhatsApp group and his family WhatsApp group. He gives me a special shout out for being a special mom to his child. And again, I ignored all of it. Then we get to what happened. Oh, we were trying to decide on where to eat for breakfast. We also had planned to visit his childhood friend who lived in the area, and he'd given me the responsibility to find out where to eat. And for whatever reason, I was getting extra frustrated with that task. I felt like I was already doing a lot trying to pack up, and now he's making me be the one to choose where we eat. But I pushed that aside and I found somewhere to eat. I was still frustrated that I felt like he wasn't helping me to pack up, but that's okay. We pack up, we check out, and we're headed towards the restaurant. And I can find myself being extremely irritable. We get to the restaurant, and lo and behold, there's a line. He's complaining that the line is too long and that he thought I was going to pick somewhere where we can have a quick bite so that we could go see his friend. I got super irritated with that as well. I was like, why couldn't you then decide where to eat if you knew exactly what you wanted? I wanted a big breakfast, and so this is where we picked. And obviously, there's a line because it's Mother's Day. All the mothers are out with their family, and mind you, this was like 9 or 9:30, and the line was long. We were supposed to meet his friend at 10, so obviously it wasn't going to work. But because my plans for eating a big breakfast fell through, I was pissed. And so I again had the responsibility of finding a nearby coffee shop. Why he couldn't find a coffee shop, I have no idea. So I find a coffee shop and I see on the menu that they have almond croissants, and I'm excited because I really love almond croissants and I need a win right now because I'm pissed off. I'm already having a crappy Sunday morning. We start walking from the restaurant to the coffee shop because it's kind of sort of close by, but then it's chilly. And he decides, you know what? No, let's drive instead. Again, I'm pissed off at this guy. I'm like, make up your mind. Like, why are you making me make the decisions? You make the decisions today. Like, I don't. I'm tired. I'm I'm pissed. And so it's just little things that I'm picking up here and there that are just annoying me. We get to the coffee shop. Um, we get to the front, and I look over to where they have the pastries, and there's a sign that says almond croissants. Behind that sign, there are no almond croissants. I look over to the next sign and I see spinach feta croissants. Behind the sign, there's a row of spinach feta croissants. I look down at all the other signs. All the appropriate pastries are where they are meant to be, except for the almond croissants. Where are the almond croissants? So I take a deep breath and I ask the cashier guy, um, do you guys happen to have almond croissants? Of course, he's like, no, we're out. They go by very quickly. This was 10 o'clock. Actually, no, it wasn't even up to 10. It wasn't even up to 10 yet. I would say this was like 9:45 because again, we're supposed to meet his friend, my husband's friend at 10. And he's like, yeah, we're out of croissants because they're super popular. Oh man, I was mad. And when I get extremely stressed and irritated, I lose my appetite. But because we're already there and I don't want my husband to kind of like get a hint of my frustrations, I just ordered the feta, spinach feta croissants. I order coffee, he gets his coffee, and it is what it is. And I sit down and I could just feel the tears rumbling, they're just rumbling within my spirit. And I get up and I go to use the bathroom. And I cry and I sob in the bathroom. And it's just uncontrollable tears just falling. I think after a couple of minutes, I compose myself. I wipe away the tears. I come back, I sit down. My husband is obviously, confused as to what's going on. And I just tell him how frustrated I am. And he then, talks to me about like, okay, like he's trying to figure it out. And eventually I come to the realization is that I don't want to celebrate Mother's Day today. I don't. It hurts. I am hurting right now and I'm in pain and I don't want to celebrate. But it is what it is. And then, of course, I start crying in the middle of this coffee shop. And so he decides that we're going to cancel going to visit his friend. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, you don't get to see her often. We're not here often. And so, like, this might be a missed opportunity. And he says it's okay that she's a mom and they're going to be celebrating Mother's Day anyway. She should have her time and it's going to be a lot for me. And I say, okay. And he figures that he thinks he understands why I'm having a hard time with Mother's Day. And eventually I do explain it to him why it was a difficult morning, and it turned out to be a completely difficult day. And here are the two reasons why. One, I was dealing with imposter syndrome. And secondly, I was grieving the loss of pregnancy that I had experienced about a month or two ago. And so the thought of celebrating motherhood was just way too much for my heart to take on. And I realized it was the imposter syndrome and, the grief of the miscarriage when he had talked to his friend to let her know that I probably was dealing with a lot of emotions having experienced the miscarriage, and she had expressed to him that on her first try she had a miscarriage too. And when he was telling me this, oh man, I broke down again for the third time, just in tears, just crying, 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 realizing that I am still grieving. And I was hurt. I was hurt that she had to experience that. I was hurt that mothers have to experience losing a baby. And I was just so overwhelmed with not being a mom that I just did not want to celebrate Mother's Day. And eventually I was like, you know what? It's okay. For a lot of stepmothers, Mother's Day is just Sunday, and that is perfectly fine. You can celebrate it if you want to, and I'm so happy for the stepmothers who celebrate Mother's Day. But for the stepmothers who just don't feel like it because they're either going through imposter syndrome, they are grieving the loss of a child, or they are feeling invisible, Mother's Day can just be a Sunday, and that is completely okay. So let's talk about imposter syndrome for a second, and let me look up the definition of imposter syndrome. So on dictionary.com, it says imposter syndrome is the persistent inability to believe that one's success is deserved or has been legitimately achieved as a result of one's own efforts or skills. In other words, you feel like you don't deserve a title, the success, labels, you feel like a fraud in your position. And stepmothers, we know this. We know this feeling a lot, especially when the stepchild has an alive and active other parents, bio parents, if you will. And so for me, my stepson has a mom who is incredibly active. We have 50-50 custody over him. And it is very apparent, that that is his mom because he talks about his mom so much. He loves his mom so much. And I've created an environment and a space where he is safe to talk about her in front of me, with me, whatever he wants. And so he freely chats about her. Some days I don't care. Other days, yeah, it stings because it's like, oh, I love you so much. I wish I was your mom, but I know I'm not. And so that's where the imposter syndrome comes in, is that this child already has a mother to celebrate on Mother's Day. I don't feel like I deserve to be celebrated because, again, here, like that void, or not that void, that position of mother is already filled. And so that's her day. I don't even get to physically be with this child on Mother's Day because he's with his real mom. And so therefore it doesn't feel right that I be celebrated. I know a lot of people disagree with this. I actually had a conversation with my mom and she, full on disagreed. She said, well, you shouldn't feel this way because you're a different kind of mom. You're his stepmom. You step in where his mom cannot because she's physically not there. And so whenever he is with me, I am mom, which I understand. But I am not really mom even when he's with me. I'm just a different type of mother figure. I'm a stepmom. I'm there to fill in this hole that is missing when he's with his dad. And so I feel like a placeholder, not the real thing. And I guess that feeling of imposter syndrome, or just the negative feelings I have of being a step or a placeholder, kind of goes back to my dating history. I've had a lot of experiences not being enough for a guy until he finds like the real person that he wants. And so I already having that experience coming into a stepmom role, knowing that, okay, I'm just a placeholder until the real thing comes along, it's heavy on me. And so I was dealing with that heaviness, that imposter syndrome already going into Mother's Day. And then with that feeling of not being a real mom, I then remembered that I had the opportunity to become a real mom and I lost it. It was a traumatic, absolutely traumatic experience having to go through that type of miscarriage. And this is the first time that I am actually talking about it to the public. And I feel like more women should really talk about miscarriages because I did not realize how common it was until having experienced it and meeting other women and talking to other women about my miscarriage. You know, like, oh, yeah, I know exactly how you feel. It's crazy how common it is. But having already experienced that loss so close to Mother's Day, it it hurts so bad because in my mind I felt I should have been carrying my own child. I should have been looking forward to being a mom in a few months. And that was gone. And so I was dealing with a lot of heaviness that Mother's Day, a lot of heaviness. And then, of course, you go on social media, everyone is celebrating, you know, their moms and also being a mom. A lot of girls, sorry, not girls, a lot of women that I follow and friends who got married around the same time that I did, give or take a year or two, they're celebrating their little ones. They got to have their babies and they're celebrating being first time moms. Some of them also were celebrating caring and looking forward to being a mom this year. And seeing that, I was just like, that should have been me. That should have been me. And so I stayed off social media because, again, I was reminded that not only am I not a full mom, I lost the opportunity to be one. I didn't even call my mom until then the nighttime. So that's how bad it was. And I'm very close to my mom. So Mother's Day was trash for me. It was a trash day of just so many emotions. I tried to distract myself with content creating, and of course, technology failed me halfway through. And there was a point where I had nothing to do. And so all the feelings came flooding back, and I'm just crying again and grieving and just sobbing. I'm grieving the loss of the pregnancy. I'm grieving the experience of being a stepmother. And I must say, there is a lot to grieve when you become a stepmom people don't realize this, but there actually is quite a lot to grieve. And we'll talk about that in another episode. But it was a tough day, Mother's Day. So I was in the position to not celebrate Mother's Day this year as a stepmom. And I know a lot of stepmoms were also in similar positions where they didn't celebrate. I know a lot of stepmoms who are having a great experience and were able to celebrate Mother's Day. And I'm so thankful and happy that such women exist because it gives me hope. It gives so many women in the community hope. And I also want to give a lot of women in my position hope as well. Hope that being a stepmom is really not that bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people in horrible, horrible, horrible situations. And I'm praying for you if you are listening or watching. And I am supporting you. I see you. I hear you. And I pray that, things get better one way or the other. But I do celebrate all the women who are having a fantastic time being a stepmom. Thank God for people like you. And guess what? Speaking of hope, there's a thing called Stepmother's Day, and it is the Sunday right after Mother's Day. I don't know if I'm a fan of the proximity to Mother's Day. It's a bit too close, but I am still thankful that there is a day to celebrate stepmoms out there. And I actually will be celebrating with a couple, actually, not a couple, a few more other stepmoms in the area. There is a content creator called Tammy as well, actually. She is called Stepmom Goals on Instagram, and she's hosting an event for stepmoms in the area. And I am incredibly excited to be around other stepmoms as we celebrate ourselves and all the work that we are doing as mothers to these children because it ain't easy. But I'm looking forward to celebrating that, and I will be discussing the experience of celebrating Stepmother's Day as a step parent because I didn't know it was a thing. And I think that'll be the next episode. So I hope you guys will return for that. And I think that's where I'm going to end this episode because I have cried a few, or not cried, but I've shed a few tears and my makeup is running. I got to go freshen up. But um, yay to my first episode. I'm excited about this journey of being the good stepmother because guess what? That old stereotype of evil stepmothers is outdated. They're good stepmothers, and we're here to stay. We're here to have fun and to enjoy being moms to these little ones. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.